was George Washington's New Year's resolution in 1776. George Washington, more than anything else, needed to find a way to drive the British military from Boston. At the first of the year in 1776, George Washington was commanding the Continental Army, and they surrounded Boston in the countryside, while British soldiers had full control of the metropolis of Boston, as they called it back then. So he needed to find a way to drive the British out of Boston. What he did is he thought about strategies, and he decided to send Colonel Henry Knox to Fort Ticonderoga in New York, which was around 225 miles or so from where they were in Massachusetts. Henry Knox wrote George Washington that he found numerous cannons at Fort Ticonderoga, and this fort had been freed by the Patriots. It had been a British fort, but by this point it was a Patriot fort. And Henry Knox explained in a letter to Washington, "I have made 42 exceedingly strong sleds," and he had gathered 80 yoke of oxen to drag those cannons to Massachusetts. So when the weather broke in March of 1776, George Washington ordered those cannons to be placed on Dorchester Heights. And from there, they could aim at the British ships coming in and out of the harbor. When the British general saw these cannons, he was shocked. He did make an effort to try to fight back, but the weather became messy and sleet and snow hit again. So his opportunity was spoiled. He wrote George Washington a letter and said, "I will leave, my men and I will leave Boston as long as you promise not to attack us when we evacuate, and we're not going to burn the town." And that's exactly what happened. The British left Boston in March of 1776, and George Washington fulfilled his New Year's resolution to drive the British out of Boston.
Phenomenal video. I love history. A former White House staffer for former President George W. Bush, Jane Hampton Cook's passion is igniting patriotism and making American history relevant to modern life, news, current events, politics, and faith. She is an award-winning screenwriter and author of 18 books, including a new series for children called Revolutionary Readers for America's 250th birthday. Jane researched and wrote about the American Revolution for a book called Stories of Faith and Courage from the Revolutionary War. Going into the research, she wondered if George Washington was overrated. But as she dug into his writings, she came away in awe about him and other founders. This book changed her life and put her on path to bring to life stories from America's founding era and the first 50 years. This is the Counterculture Mom Show. I'm your host, Tina Griffin. America's 250th anniversary is what we're talking about this week as we celebrate going into July 4th with Jane Hampton Cook, author, speaker, historian. Jane, where have you been all my life with all that knowledge? How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Girl, that opening video made me want to go back to 7th and 8th grade history class, American history class all over again. I know that I learned a lot about history when I was in middle school, high school years, and we're going back 25, 30 years. Are kids today in America even learning about what I learned about 30 years ago in school?
No, most likely not. The sad statistic is that only 13% of eighth graders are proficient in American history. And so we have just a real, I don't want to call it a scandal exactly. There's just definitely a need for people to reconnect with these stories. And with the technology is there, now we can show George Washington in films to convey, his story. And so, that's what my mission has been about. I've just been writing books and delving into these stories and bringing them to life in ways that I hope are resonant with people.
Jane, that's absolutely phenomenal. Now, you live in Centerville, Virginia with your husband and 3 sons. Is your whole family George Washington lovers and previous founders?
Yes, they've done a lot in their lives to learn and go to places. We've gone to places like Mount Vernon, which was George Washington's home, and living in the Washington, D.C. area. There's a lot of opportunities to go and to learn. But because, of technology, we can, do things to help people connect to these stories through, Zoom calls and through videos that we can put together. Because when I read original documents that I did for my book, Stories of Faith and Courage from the Revolutionary War, it just hit me. I was humbled by them because I thought, wow, these people made tremendous sacrifices, and they wanted the same thing that we want. They wanted to have purpose and meaning in their life, and they sacrificed, and for us. And George Washington called us the unborn millions to come. And he told his men before the Battle of Long Island that that's what they were fighting for, not just for their own families, but the families to come. And so that's the legacy that we have to learn about and discover, 250 years later.
Absolutely. How old are your kids?
So I now have a 21-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 12-year-old. And I've, gone with me to the Addams family home in Boston. And, we've done a lot of things like that. And I think when you can visit a museum, that helps. And the 250th, Freedom 250, has 6 big big vehicles mobile museums that they're sending throughout the country, and they're sending it and taking these big rigs to local communities, and you can go in and see all these great museum exhibits. It's fun. It's been done by PragerU, the interior. And so I remember as a kid going to the bicentennial 1976 train that went around the country doing something very similar. And so 250th this year really is a good chance to learn and discover and have fun all at the same time.
Absolutely. I really think there is a sinister plot um, with our education, with accessing true history, because if you don't know our history, many people are going to think, why is it worth fighting for? They don't even realize what they have because of the sacrifices of previous leaders. I totally get it. And that's why we have to get everybody out there tuning in. You've got to get your hands on Jane's books and read them to your kids, or have your kids read them, because they need to know exactly what special power we have as a nation and blessing we have from God as a nation. And we take a lot of things for granted, and we can see it more because we're older. Our younger generation has no clue what previous generations did to fight for the freedoms we have today. It's just wild. What drew you to writing
Yeah.
about American history?
Well, I wrote a book about first ladies after I left the White House, and the publisher of that book suggested that I write about the American Revolution. They were doing a devotional series, and they wanted to use stories from the Revolution for devotionals. And so there's 365 devotionals with a scripture and a prayer, but you get through the whole American Revolution. And so that's the Stories of Faith and Courage from the Revolutionary War book. And that drew me in. And I was actually pregnant with my middle son. I ended up on bed rest. And during that time, I read all these writings of the founders. And, just to see in print George Washington write a letter to his mother saying, I now appear in the land of the living by the miraculous care of Providence, which protected me beyond all human expectation. For I had 4 bullets go through my coat and 2 horses shot under me, but I was unhurt. And to read that and realize, wow, he experienced this near-death miracle on the battlefield when he was just in his early 20s. And that gave him, he gave God glory, providence glory. He used the term providence, which means God's presence. That's how they defined it back then. He used that 568 times in his writings alone.
Wow.
And he saw the hand of providence perform a miracle in his own life. And that gave him courage to be a selfless leader. I wondered if he was overrated just because, it's okay to go into something with some skepticism. But what I realized is that he was willing to retreat and not have battlefield glory if that meant his men could live to fight another day.
Yeah.
And so for him, it wasn't glory. It really was about the cause of justice. He believed in the justice of their cause. And he believed that the name American belonged to you in your national capacity and should, receive the just pride of patriotism. And so he really lived what he preached, so to speak. And he wasn't, this grand orator, but he lived his life in a way that it was a servant leadership approach. And that really comes through when you see his life and the things that happened to him.
I mean, just from what you just said, there's another angle of why I think so many people that are behind the printing of the books in our public schools today don't want our kids to read it, because they don't want a bunch of leaders that are free thinkers. So that is another reason why we have to get back to the basics and go back 250 years if we need to. What have you and your family been doing to prepare for America's 250th birthday?
Well, I've been making videos, at least 2 a month. And I show them to my older son, who's a good art critic. He helps me, tells me, Mom, this is too long, or I didn't quite understand this. And so they've been a good editorial team for me. But I've been doing videos. And so like the one you played earlier, and just to be able to help to create, to input like a painting into an AI generator and then have them look like they're alive and speaking, and then using their words so that you see what they're saying is what they said, know. And I have videos of Gail Adams and how she was living in Boston and how she was feeling about the fact that the British occupied Boston for almost a year, and she couldn't she couldn't leave her farmhouse because of the situation. And then George Washington brought those cannons from Fort Ticonderoga and placed them on Dorchester Heights, and he drove the British out of Boston. And it was an amazing thing. And George Washington considered it a miracle because there was a storm that came out of nowhere, and it prevented the British from attacking them. They couldn't get their ships out of the harbor. There's a great movie that's already out and streaming called The American Miracle, and that is one of several miracles that movie shows you about, the hand of providence working, on for the cause of America.
Absolutely. That movie, American Miracle, I saw the beginnings of it in post-production up in Minneapolis. I'm friends with some of the people that worked on that project. Everybody out there, phenomenal movie. We're going to go to a short commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the importance of gratitude. That's a great question to be asking. I can't wait to get your take on that. So more about gratitude right after this.
Here are 7 signs you may have a parasite. My biggest issue, because I did have parasites, was teeth grinding, skin irritation, and unexplained digestive issues. The other indication that you could have a parasite is eating after 7 p.m. and craving sugar. My name is Kim. I'm the worm queen and the inventor of the Parafy Kit. Let's go over it. Parafy, it's your parasite cleanse. Sustain, it's your candida and your bad bacteria cleanse. Metal Flush, it's your heavy metal detox. Cinnabon, it's your binder. You take Parafy and Metal Flush 3 times a day and Sustain 2 times a day. You can take them all together. The kit comes with instructions. Cinnabon is your binder, and you take that at night. We have a nut-free option. We ship worldwide. The Parafy Kit is for ages 3 and up. Use Tina as your 10% discount code. Find it on rogersfood.com.
With everything going on in the economy right now, I keep thinking about how many families have done everything right. Working for decades, saving, building something for their future. Not just for themselves, but for their kids, their spouse, the people they love. And yet so much of that is still tied to a system that feels more and more out of our control. And that's the part that concerns me, because this isn't just about money, it's about protecting your family. That's why more people are starting to look at ways to protect a portion of what they've built outside of that system. Things like physical gold. I've been working with Augusta Precious Metals because they take an education-first approach. They walk you through how it works and help you decide if it's even right for you. No pressure. Check out this #1 rated company at goldwithmom.com or text Tina to 35052 and get your free gold IRA guide. That's goldwithmom.com. It's a simple way to take a step toward protecting what you've worked so hard to build. Instead of letting your kids get brainwashed in school with CRT, teach them how the world really works with the Tuttle Twins. If you want to help your children learn about true history, great tips regarding saving and spending money, personal freedom and responsibility, entrepreneurship, individual rights, and more, they will eat up what the Tuttle Twins pump out. Their mission is to create kids' books and curriculum that supports the values of a free society. Check out everything they've got at TuttleTwins.com. And when you load up that cart, make sure you use code TINA, T-I-N-A, at checkout to save 40% off your order. That's right, you heard me correctly. 40% off. Use code TINA at TuttleTwins.com.
Come on in and experience small town hospitality and the personalized care that makes car buying a pleasure.
We know that every journey starts with the right car. Whether it's school drop-off, weekend road trips, or your daily commute, we have the right vehicle for you and your family.
With trusted brands, affordable prices, and a team that treats you like family, finding your next car has never been so easy.
We pride ourselves on personal attention and quality service. Cassette Motors, where our customers send their friends.
Ashley, North Dakota is where life moves a little slower, but never gets dull. From hunting, camping, and fishing to safe streets where kids can be kids, this is the best of small town living. And Ashley offers everything you need, from healthcare to hardware to countless ways to stay active. Here, we've invested in our future with major upgrades to roads, parks, and education. Whether you're here for the day or here for life, you'll find Ashley's where you ought to be.
West River Equipment of Mandan is here to help you maintain peak productivity in your operation. As an authorized dealer for many high-quality equipment lines, we have the new and used equipment it takes to make your farming, ranching, or construction operation profitable and efficient. West River Equipment also has the parts on hand and the experienced technicians in our shop to get your equipment back in action fast. Find what you need at West River Equipment on Old Red Trail in Mandan.
Hey, I'm Corey Heppola, and a long time ago, I left my small town for a big city. Now, I wonder, what would it be like to move rural?
Just because we're small doesn't mean we can't have nice things.
So, I'm traveling to different small towns across the Midwest to find out.
It's like every year in the spring, there's always like a revitalization of just excitement.
This is my town.
Oh, jeez.
Sunday night, 6:30 on Beck TV.
Jane, this is a wild curveball question, but I really like it. We don't talk about it much in the program, but we should be talking about this on the show and with our own kids. Why is gratitude important for Americans today, especially when it comes to putting our history into perspective?
Well, I've got a new book out called A Great and Grateful Nation, From Grievance to Gratitude. This is the cover. And I wrote it because it's an illustrated keepsake for America's 250th. And what I discovered is that we could not have become a great nation if we were not grateful as a people along the way. And so I looked into the theme of giving thanks during the American Revolution. And I found that there were a number of occasions where the Continental Congress, in good times and bad times, would call on the people to set aside a day of prayer in Thanksgiving. You know, sometimes that was feasting and joyful gratitude after a battle, and then sometimes that was during a difficult time. It was a little more about fasting. But this attitude of gratitude, I think, is what helped them get through their grievances with a healthy perspective. And that's what gratitude does. It can change your perspective, and being grateful for what is good really goes a long way. And then it's fun too, because in George Washington's writings, the very first time he used the term Thanksgiving was in November of 1775. He was in Massachusetts, and he discovered this tradition that was not in Virginia yet, but it was in Massachusetts, and that he had his men observe Thanksgiving in November of 1775. That was the first time the Army ever had a Thanksgiving. And so we can see traces of our, customs today. We see the origins of that. And then I found the first Thanksgiving prayer, the first Jewish Thanksgiving prayer was published in a newspaper in 1765. And it was through a synagogue in Rhode Island. And so I've got that in there, that prayer. So it shows you that gratitude really breaches cultures, that giving thanks to God is something that humans have been doing a long time. And it's something I think that's good for us, just personally, and then as a people publicly.
Yeah, and we're like forgetting to do it. But that's very interesting how you went back in history and time to see how other people were gracious for what they have and had gratitude. And look what God did as a result of blessing the nation back then. Very, very interesting. You mentioned in the beginning of this program that about 13% of eighth graders are proficient in American history. What are you doing specifically about that statistic?
So I have this children's book series called Revolutionary Readers for America's 250th. And this style of book on Amazon, there just weren't any patriotic books like in this learning to read, step into reading style, where a number 1 is for first grade and a number 2 on the book is for second, and so on. So I wrote a series, and I have a rhyming book about the flag, My American Flag, and then I use the lyrics to America the Beautiful, and illustrated them. And it's like saying something to music almost is the way it sort of came together. But there are patriotic books that teach children, third graders, the pledge to the flag and the story about how we got the pledge and where that came from. And, I learned that for My Country 'Tis of Thee, the first group of people to ever sing that song were children who sang it for a special concert on July 4th in Boston in 1831. And then how many people have used the lyrics of that song? Marian Anderson referred to them. She was a famous singer in the 1930s, and then you have Martin Luther King, Let Freedom Ring. That comes from scripture and of course that song in particular. And so that's what this series is about, is it will help your children understand not just that there are stars and stripes on the flag, but the color red in the flag means valor. And that was Congress determined. They gave the virtues to the colors in our flag, and those are some things that aren't taught. But each color has a meaning, and perseverance, vigilance, and justice is the meaning behind blue, and then white means innocence. And I think that back to that idea when George Washington told his men, "You were fighting for the millions to come. We were the innocents." That he was fighting for, the children, in their generation. And so those are just some things we can teach our kids that will help, bring back that historical literacy that's been lost in our culture.
Every day in Nigeria, Christians are hunted, villages burned, families torn apart. And while many talk about the problem, few are willing to step into it. That's where Equipping the Persecuted is different. We are not a mission of awareness. We are a mission of action. Within 48 hours of a terror attack, we are on the ground, delivering food, medical care, protection, standing with those the world has forgotten. Since 2019, we've helped over 500,000 persecuted Christians. We support over 1,000 widows every month. We train and equip village security teams, saving lives before attacks even happen. Others report the crisis. We run toward it. When evil shows up at their doorstep, we can make sure they are not standing alone. For just over $1 a day, you can stand with the persecuted. Go to equippingthepersecuted.org or call now 1-833-933-4059. That's 1-833-933-4059.
If you're a busy mom like me, juggling kids, home life, and everything in between, you know healthcare is a huge decision. What's worked for me and my family for over a decade? MediShare. Over the years, I've had all 4 of my kids with MediShare, gone through 2 major surgeries, and never once stressed about the bills being paid. MediShare is affordable, saving us up to 50% compared to other healthcare options. And I love knowing our money never ends up supporting things that don't align with our values. MediShare offers 24/7 access to telehealth services as well. Have a sick kid in the middle of the night? Not a problem. They've got your back. So if you're looking for healthcare that fits your family and your values, I can't recommend MediShare enough. Call today at 1-866-88-BIBLE and be sure to mention Counterculture Mom when you enroll. That's 1-866-88-BIBLE. And join the thousands of families like mine who found healthcare that truly cares about what matters most. Your hard work needs to go out. God told you to write these books. They look absolutely fantastic. Everybody out there, check out her Revolutionary Readers series. You can get them at janecook.com. phenomenal books. How many books do you have for kids?
There are seven in yes. Then my newest was Why the 4th of July. So if you can only buy one book for America's 250th, get Why the 4th of July, because that will tell you why July 4th is our nation's birthday and not other important dates in our history.
This is just excellent, excellent work. Kids need to know the history of our nation. At janecook.com, you can get her biography, articles, books. There's tons of different resources on here, TV and video, and you can contact her. Do you also speak all over the place, girl? With your background, you probably do, correct?
I do public speaking. And I love to do, with Zoom, we can do it more quickly and easily than we used to. So we can talk to more people that way.
Absolutely. And then also you have a book called A Great and Grateful Nation, From Grievance to Gratitude. We absolutely have to check that out as well. And that can also be found at janecook.com. That's janecook, COOK.com. Thank you very much for all your hard work, dedication for our nation. I had to get you in the mix this week for celebrating our 250th anniversary of our country series because you are kid geared. And I think it's critical in this day and age that we have our kids get involved with truth because they become the leaders of tomorrow. So many of us know the wars that we have gone through and lived through, our grandparents have gone through, or died in possibly. But our young generation has no clue, like I said in the beginning, what freedoms we have. This will give them a love for their country and want to make them help preserve, prepare, plan, and help protect America. Jane, you're doing a phenomenal job. Keep up the excellent, excellent work. Everybody out there, go to janecook.com. Grab her books today. Check them out. Grab them for your grandkids. Grab them for your kids. Never too late to get truth in their head. They will love it and then be on fire for the red, white, and blue. Watch all 4 episodes this week as we dissect America and the 250th anniversary of it. Let's help preserve our great nation. Jane, you rock. Keep at it.
There's never been a better time to rediscover the style, reliability, and all-season, all-terrain fun of the all-new Nissan lineup at the new and improved Ryan Nissan. Whether it's the sleek and stylish Murano, the adventure-ready Pathfinder, or the reimagined, ready-for-anything 2026 Rogue, the all-new Ryan Nissan has the vehicle of your dreams at a price perfect for any budget. It's time to rediscover your passion for the road. It's time to rediscover the all-new Ryan Nissan, engineered to endure.
Welcome to where classy meets Wild West. Buffalo Gypsy Boutique of Bismarck has clothing, decor, and gifts ranging from sophisticated boho style to fun and flashy. Our exclusive brands such as Scully, Double D Ranch, and Tanner Mark provide standout style for the whole family, right down to the little ones. We always have a great selection of Kimes denim, and we proudly offer American-made jewelry and artwork. Find Buffalo Gypsy classing up North Bismarck just off Highway 83.
Let's be frank, it's a pain to be without your vehicle after an accident. That's why you should take it to Jerome's Collision Center. Our shop is supersized and we have the qualified staff to fill it up and work on your vehicle, step by step, piece by piece, in crazy fast time without sacrificing quality. When you need us, we'll turn your bad experience into a good one. We're Jerome's Collision Center and we're the best at what we do.
We are the St. Mary Sisters. We are building a new facility here in Bismarck, North Dakota, for the sake of training young women to be courageous teachers in this state. The sisters will educate the younger generation to be fully alive through truth and discipline. The sisters' life of devotion and joy will make a positive difference in your community. Check out what we're up to, see what's going on, and join our mission to make a difference in the lives of the children of North Dakota.
Now you can have the personalized forecast at your fingertips when you need it. Beck's exclusive Weather Insight is information tailored to you. Radar, weather alerts, forecasts, and videos. Download the free Weather on Beck News app. Search your app store now.